Hi guys, today's dev diary is about recording and editing video dev diaries. Uh, it's kind of related to games, and so I'm hoping I'll get marks for it. I mean, uh, doing these video logs helps me gain confidence with my speaking and pushes me to be more succinct and descriptive. I mean, it's easier than agonizing over my writing. I spend hours and hours agonizing over my writing because it's never good enough. But I do the same thing here. I can spend a long time re-recording videos, but when I'm pressed for time, I just pump one of these out, and that stress kind of alleviates a little bit because even if it's crap, I've talked about what I've done in Dev Diary, and I'm gonna get marks. So I hope this inspires some of my peers to do video logs because I haven't seen a lot. So this big grey box here is Shotcut. It is one of the best free video editing softwares I've used so far, and I've tried a few free ones. Adobe Premiere is great, but it's not free, and that's why I advocate using Shotcut over Adobe. Even if you've got the student discount, you won't have that forever, and all of those premium paid-for softwares are so intuitive and easy to learn. You don't really need a lot of help. You just kind of use them and you learn. So you don't need tutorials like this. I'm going to start with OBS. Hopefully it doesn't get weird. Just snap it right up there. Pretend all this is empty because that's what you'll see when you first download OBS. We want to go to settings first. So the first thing we want to do is change our theme to dark and then go to output. The video bitrate doesn't need to be too high, especially if you're like capturing the screen like I do that doesn't move too much. If it's gameplay or film or animation, you might want to pump that up a little bit, but for me 500 is heaps. You want to use your hardware encoder, so your GPU, and your audio bitrate doesn't need to be above 160 unless you're recording music. But today I'm just talking about recording a dev diary and how you should set it all up. You can go straight to video. This is grayed out and red because I'm recording, so I can't change the resolutions while I'm recording, but I've just set the base canvas to 2560 by 1440, which isn't my monitor's resolution, but I wanted 16 by 9, and the output is scaled at 720. You can leave, you might want to change the frame rate to 24 if it's any higher, because you don't need any more than that. Lastly, you want to set some hotkeys, so Alt-R is a lot easier than finding the window here, record. To use OBS, you want to add a scene if there isn't one there already, and the scene is just the setup of the sources. So once you've got a scene selected, I mean, I've got two scenes here for the same thing. I just get bored of being on the right sometimes, so that's why I've got two. But they're both just a display capture and a video capture device, but I've moved the canvases around in this studio window. I think that's what it's called. If you've got no sources, you want to add a display capture, and it'll grab your main monitor by default. And if you've already set one up, you can add existing. And you want your webcam, your video capture device. So add video capture device. Next, you want to play around with the audio mixer here. I don't like having my desktop audio too high because let's say I play a game or I'm testing a game in Unity Editor. The sound effects and music are generally much louder than my voice. So that leads me to the next setting you want to tweak. This is the audio device. It's just, I think, grabbed from my mic or the default Windows recording device, but you can go to sources and add an audio input if you've got something more custom. But like when you set up a video webcam, it's pretty simple. But you want to go to filters for that mic and put just a little bit of gain on, just 5 decibels. You can also decrease that. I'm a lot more quiet, so I need a little bit of gain, and the noise suppression here, negative 10 decibels, helps remove the buzz of my computer and any clicking from the keyboard or my tongue. That's all you need for OBS, I think. Now let's go to Shotcut. Okay, this is Shotcut. There's a few ways to import a video for editing. I like simply dragging and dropping into this.
Hello and welcome to another Dev Diary.
This is the source preview window by default. To do something more interesting with this, we want to open up the timeline. We can click this button up here. I'll go to view and check most everything. I also want my recent playlist for sources because that's going to be easier for me. Dragging and dropping. I want filters and I want properties. They're in the same window, they just share a tab. I mean, they share a window, but they have separate tabs. I'll export later too. Can't forget that. Yeah, that should be enough. Okay, so before I bring this into the timeline, I don't need to make a track. A track will be made automatically, but I want to trim this down to be really short, so from 6 minutes to 8 minutes. I think there's some clipping in there that we can play with. I'll just remove that track.
Hello.
Load that up again. Drag in just that little one. Okay, it worked that time. So I can scrub through by left-clicking, dragging on the gray. It's really cool because you can see the audio waveform. Like, interestingly, that's just it hasn't just made a new track, but it's added that video where I dragged it on the timeline. So I can just move that all the way back to make the start again. I'm going to scrub through while looking at the audio wave for any big clips before I do anything else. I don't know what that is. I could have been bumping the table, but you can see that goes right to the top of that audio channel there. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and split that file up into more files just by hitting S and doing it again here. I'm going to select just that file that I've cut up. I'm going to go to filters and I'm going to add an audio filter by clicking on the speaker icon there, and volume. I'm going to pull that right down, scrub through it. That's automatically applied, by the way, and that's much better. You can still kind of get the syllables, but whatever that clicking noise was is gone. So yeah, that's automatically applied. When I export, it's going to be just like that. Next thing we could do is maybe picture-in-picture if you're not using a webcam to record as you create the video. We add a video track, and whatever's on top is going to be rendered on top, I guess. And I think I have to
Guys, today I'm just having a quick talk about.
I have to bring up a video clip in the source preview in order to do this, but I'm going to trim down just a short bit there, put it here, and so we see, I'm just going to make this a bit bigger so I can scrub. We can see just instantly overlays. You might want that, or maybe you want picture-in-picture. So if you select that video file, filters is still open. I can hit plus. Again, you put a filter on every file that you select on the timeline. I'm going to go to video, and I'm going to go to, I've got a lot here. This is really good for a free app. I'm going to go size and position, and there's some presets. I'm going to go top left. And so when I scrub through that now, when I hit that video, it's overlaying at the top. I could put more transitions there. Speaking of, transitions can be done on one track. So let's select that first video track again and do a transition. Let's say right here where I'm not saying much for a bit. Maybe I was lost in thought for a moment. I can hit S to split the playhead there and there. Right click, remove, and then just drag that clip over. And we've got this automatic transition. Probably can't see it because nothing much happened in that video. So I'm probably going to move that out of the way so you can see the movement in blur there. We've also got this gap here, which we can fix by selecting the track before, I think hitting home. No, home goes to the start of the track. We can just drag it over and snap it. Or just remove that section there and automatically move everything across to fill that gap. What else is there? Let's say you want to normalize the audio. You can just go filters. We've already got one on this one for the position. Let's go audio and normalize. And I'm pretty sure that, I mean, you can test it out, but this is all auto. It's changed a lot, so some of the tutorials on the website are a little different, but you've got a lot more power here if you can just play around with it and you've got the patience. I usually just slap it on and forget about it. I'm just doing student logs though. Lastly, if we're happy with all of that, we go to export, click up here. We can save custom settings by, let's say, starting with one of these defaults. So I'm going to start with MP4 because YouTube and Twitter love that. I'll start with that, and I'm going to, from timeline, MP4 format. I'm going to go to the codec, and I'm going to change the average bit rate to a, you know what, average bit rate is fine. I'm just going to take it all the way down to 500, or 512 kilobits per second. Because that's plenty. And onto audio. Yep, that's all fine. It's by default at 128, which is less than the source, so it's going to be compressing a bit. And if you're happy with those changes, you want to go down here to plus to add an export preset. If you type in the name of your preset, it'll pop up here in custom just the same as this. So I've got a 720p, 24 frames per second, 512 kilobyte MP4. That's usually what I use. Last thing you want to do, let's say test. Last thing you want to do is give it the file name suffix. You have to type .mp4. Otherwise, you're just going to have to go into Windows Explorer and rename it before it'll work. I hope this video inspires more of my peers to try out video logs. I think it's really cool when I'm behind my work to just be able to pump out some of these video logs, and my lecturers have all encouraged me to continue doing it. So I encourage you. Thanks for watching.